You are here, listening, somewhere between wakefulness and rest, between thought and silence. In this quiet space, the story begins. Every moment of your life has been shaped by what you notice, what your mind chooses to hold. Attention is the invisible thread that weaves meaning through the noise. It is what turns sound into music, light into beauty, and sensation into experience. To pay attention is to live deliberately. To notice is to awaken to the ordinary miracle of being conscious. It is not just a function of it is the very essence of awareness itself. As you breathe slowly, you can feel your focus gather. Like light through a lens, your awareness narrows, softens, and expands again. Every breath becomes a small act of noticing. The quiet movement of air, the feeling of being alive. This story is about that subtle power, about how the brain creates focus, how evolution built the machinery of awareness, and how the modern world challenges it. It is also about something deeper, the ancient art of presence, the simple ability to rest in the moment as it is. As you listen, there is no need to hold on to every word. Let them pass gently through your mind like a tide. What matters will remain, and what drifts away will make space for stillness. Let us begin with the light that first appeared within the mind, the first flicker of awareness, the first act of noticing, of awareness. Imagine the earliest moment of consciousness, before language, before thought. Somewhere deep in evolutionary time, a creature stirs. It senses warmth, sound, movement. For the first time, it notices. That spark, the recognition of difference, of something outside the self, was the beginning of attention. It was the first division between observer and observed, the birth of awareness. When you pay attention now, your brain performs the same ancient act. Neurons align in complex rhythms, filtering noise from signal. Billions of cells light up and fall quiet again, sculpting experience out of chaos. Attention is the mind's way of shaping the world. Scientists call it selective processing. Philosophers call it the light of consciousness. But to you, it feels like this, a steady presence, a sense that you are here, and this is what matters now. Close your eyes if you wish. Notice the faint glow behind your eyelids, the gentle hum of thought, awareness itself without effort. The mind is not a single spotlight, but a field, sometimes narrow and sharp, sometimes wide and soft. When you listen deeply, your awareness expands to include sound, breath, emotion, and thought all at once. When you focus sharply, the world contracts to a single point. A word, a memory, a face. In moments of stillness, attention reveals its true nature. It is both active and passive, both doing and being. Like light that illuminates without touching, awareness allows the world to appear. For centuries, humans have tried to describe this simple experience. Mystics called it presence. Psychologists call it sustained attention. Neuroscientists trace it through networks of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, the thalamus, the parietal lobes, all synchronizing to decide what matters in a sea of information. Each second, your senses send millions of signals to the brain, but only a few reach consciousness. The rest fade into silence. Attention is the gatekeeper. It selects, filters, and frames your world. Consider the sound of your heartbeat. It has always been there, but only now, as you notice it, does it enter your awareness. This is the quiet magic of focus, to turn the unseen into attention. Does not only reveal the world, it reveals you. For in what you attend to, you find your values, your emotions, your identity. A mind that attends to beauty becomes attuned to beauty. A mind that dwells on fear grows anxious. What we choose to notice becomes the landscape of our inner life. In the slow rhythm of your breath, awareness and life meet. This rhythm has carried you through every experience, every joy and sorrow, every discovery and loss. Always, it was attention that gave them shape. The great psychologist William James once wrote that the quality of life depends on the quality of attention. He was right. To live well is not to control every moment, but to see it clearly, to notice without grasping, to be aware without tension. And so, awareness is not something to achieve. It is something to remember, a return to what was always here. This moment, this breath. In the chapters to come, we will explore where this light came from, how evolution sculpted the mind's ability to focus, how the brain maintains the fragile balance between awareness and distraction, and how, in a world overflowing with noise, we can rediscover the quiet art of attention. For now, rest in the gentle truth that awareness is already within you. It has never left. It only waits to be seen. Before the human mind learned to dream in words, before memory could speak, there was only the raw field of sensation, the wind against skin, the shimmer of water, the sudden rustle of leaves. Out of that endless stream of changing noise, life began to select. The flicker that meant danger, the scent that promised food, the rhythm that meant safety. In that choosing was the seed of attention. Every living organism must decide in some way what matters. Even the simplest cell turns toward light or sensing a gradient that leads to survival. But in the story of evolution, awareness grew layer upon what began as reflex became choice. What began as instinct became focus. Picture an early mammal emerging from the forest dusk. Its survival depends not on strength, but on noticing. A shadow moves differently from the breeze. A faint crack in the undergrowth carries meaning. Inside its small brain, neurons fire in precise patterns, filtering the world into signal and silence. Each successful act of attention becomes an inheritance, written into the nervous system and passed through time. The human brain is the heir of those ancient adaptations. Deep within it, the same primitive structures still hum, guiding what we see, what we hear, what we ignore. The reticular activating system in the brainstem acts as the first gatekeeper, deciding which sensations rise to awareness. It is old, older than language, older than thought itself. When it awakens, the rest of the brain follows. When it quiets, we drift into sleep. As species evolved, attention grew more flexible. Birds track the movement of predators across open sky. Dolphins coordinate their focus through sound. Primates learn to read eyes, gestures, and intentions. In every leap of complexity, evolution rewarded the mind that could hold the right thing in view. For humans, attention became the foundation of culture. The ability to notice patterns in stars, footprints, and seasons. To remember them, to teach them, to act upon them. The hunter focusing on the path of prey. The gatherer scanning for color among leaves. Each act of perception shaped not only survival, but imagination. Archaeologists have found stone tools polished smooth by countless hours of precise movement. That precision is attention made visible. It reveals that even our ancestors, living tens of thousands of years ago, cultivated focus like an art. They trained their minds long before they trained their hands. In the caves of southern France, flickering torches once cast moving light on painted walls. There, the first artists learned another dimension of focus. They watched the play of fire and shadow until animals seemed to run across stone. In that moment, attention transformed from a tool of survival into a vessel of wonder. The human prefrontal cortex, much larger than that of other animals, became the stage where such inner worlds could form. It allows you to sustain a thought, to plan, to imagine futures that do not yet exist. When you concentrate on an idea, those neurons synchronize across long distances in the brain, linking sensory detail with memory and emotion. That synchronization is what scientists call top-down attention, the ability to guide focus by will rather than by reflex. Yet, even the most deliberate focus rests on older foundations. The thalamus routes signals, amplifying what aligns with your goals and muting the rest. The parietal cortex maps space, anchoring attention to location. The anterior cingulate monitors conflict, ready to shift focus when something new demands it. Together, they form a dynamic network, pulsing in rhythms of awareness. Evolution shaped these systems not for comfort, but for survival. The mind that could stay alert to threat lived longer. The one that could hold a goal despite distraction could build tools, hunt, and care for others. But as the environment grew safer, attention found new playgrounds. It began to wander inward, toward thought, story, and meaning. Language multiplied what the mind could notice. Words became handles for focus. To name something is to carve it from the background of existence. The word fire gathers light, heat, danger, and comfort into one concept. The word friend gathers trust, memory, and emotion into one face. With language, attention learned abstraction. It could now hold not only what is seen, but what is imagined. As humans formed societies, shared attention became power. A tribe that could focus together could hunt together. Later, a people that could gather their focus around symbols, rituals, and songs could build civilizations. Temples, scripts, laws, and calendars are all architectures of attention. They coordinate countless minds into one shared rhythm. In ancient classrooms of Greece, teachers spoke of theoria, the act of contemplating truth. To them, attention was sacred. To look deeply was to approach the divine. Centuries later, monks in silent monasteries learned to train attention through prayer and repetition. In the East, meditation traditions refined this art into precise sciences of mind. Across continents and ages, humans discovered the same secret, that the quality of consciousness could be shaped. The evolution of focus is not a straight line upward, but a widening circle. Instinct, intention, imagination. Each new layer rests upon the previous one. The hunter's vigilance became the scholar's curiosity. The mother's listening became the poet's reflection. The same neural patterns that once tracked predators now track meaning across pages and screens. When you hold your attention steady, you are repeating an ancient act performed by countless ancestors. Each breath you take while concentrating is linked to those who watched the horizon for change, who listened for the cry of a child, who gazed at the stars in wonder. In that continuity lies a quiet reverence. Today, neuroscience allows us to peer into this lineage more clearly. Using imaging tools, we can see how the brain's attention networks shift from moment to moment. A burst of gamma oscillations marks the instant when focus sharpens. A wave of alpha rhythms signals when the mind begins to rest. These patterns are the echoes of evolution, written in electrical language. But numbers and scans tell only part of the story. The essence of focus cannot be captured by data alone. It lives in the felt sense of being fully here. The way the world seems to brighten when you truly look. The stillness that comes when nothing else pulls at you. That feeling is the inheritance of millions of years of selective awareness, polished by survival and transformed by imagination. Imagine now the shift from ancient wilderness to early human society. Fires gather people at night. Voices blend in shared stories. In that glow, attention becomes collective. One speaks, others listen. The storyteller's rhythm, the listener's stillness together, they create a single field of awareness. This is how culture itself began, through the synchronization of minds. From that time onward, Attention became not only a personal act, but a social force. What a community chooses to notice defines its values. What it ignores fades into darkness. Art, music, religion, and science are each attempts to direct collective attention toward truth, beauty, or discovery. Through centuries, focus shaped every leap of progress. The astronomer gazing at a single star night after night, the sculptor carving patience into stone, the scientist repeating an experiment until understanding emerges. Each act of concentration carries the same ancestral fire, the will to see clearly. And yet, with every gain, a new challenge arose. The more the world filled with symbols, the easier it became to be pulled in many directions. Writing and reading demanded sustained attention. Cities demanded constant vigilance. Trade and communication required dividing focus between countless signals. The brain, evolved for the simplicity of natural life, had to adapt to complexity. Still, it did. Slowly, through generations, attention stretched its capacity. The same mechanisms that once followed movement through trees now follow ideas through books and screens. But the essence remains unchanged. Focus is still selection. Awareness is still the narrowing of infinity into something graspable. Pause for a moment. Notice your own attention as you listen to these words. Feel how it moves like a tide, drawn in by meaning, drifting with imagination. That movement is life continuing its oldest rhythm. Evolution did not end in the past. It unfolds in you, in this very act of noticing. The next time you sit quietly and focus on a single sound or thought, remember that you are practicing something that began before humanity. You are echoing the ancient vigilance of living things. You are keeping alive the thread that connects awareness from cell to consciousness. Evolution's greatest miracle is not the invention of attention, but its transformation into curiosity, compassion, and art. The same energy that once scanned for danger now reaches toward understanding. That is how the universe looks at itself through the attentive human mind. The story of focus is therefore not only biological, but spiritual in the simplest sense. It is the awakening of matter into meaning. Through attention, the cosmos becomes aware of its own patterns. Through you, the stars continue to notice themselves. And so the evolution of focus is still happening. Every time a child learns to wonder, every time someone listens fully to another, every time a person closes their eyes and breathes with awareness, evolution advances one quiet step. Rest in that thought for a moment. The same currents that guided the first spark of noticing in a primitive mind are flowing through you now. They have crossed oceans of time to reach this instant of attention. That same thread of awareness continues unbroken through history, from the first flint struck against stone to the glow of a modern screen. Every age has carried the same question. What do we choose to notice? What deserves our focus? The earliest farmers watched the sky for the rhythm of seasons, learning patience from the stars. Their survival depended on the slow, steady act of looking. In that long gaze, a new kind of mind was born, one that could plan, imagine, and predict. As societies grew, attention became organized around purpose. Temples rose where minds gathered to contemplate mystery. Markets filled where eyes darted and weighed the worth of objects and faces. In every setting, the discipline of focus determined success. The builder aligning stones by sight and hand, the musician holding pitch against silence, the thinker following a single idea through the labyrinth of doubt. Each was an artist of attention. In the great libraries of Alexandria and Nalanda, scrolls and palm leaves overflowed with knowledge. To study them, required a devotion few could maintain. Attention became a kind of prayer. The scholar who read line by line was continuing the same act as the hunter who once followed tracks through dust. Both sought truth by staying with the trail. Meanwhile, deep inside the skull, the brain refined its circuitry. The prefrontal cortex learned to hold goals across time. The hippocampus bound memory to meaning so that attention could reach into the past and imagine the future. Networks of dopamine rewarded the pursuit of novelty, guiding curiosity toward discovery. Evolution had turned attention into exploration. But the human gift of focus carried a paradox. The same mind that could look deeply could also wander endlessly. With imagination came distraction. Thoughts multiplied like mirrors reflecting one another. The ancient vigilance that once protected the body now guarded the self, worrying over possibilities, replaying the past, forecasting danger. Attention, once a compass for survival, became a restless tide. To balance this restlessness, cultures invented rituals of stillness, breath, chant, repetition. In India, practitioners spoke of dhyana, the steady gaze of the mind. In China, sages described wu-wei, effortless awareness. In Greece, philosophers spoke of contemplation as the highest good. Each tradition, in its own language, discovered that the mind could be trained not only to focus, but to rest in focus. This training shaped the nervous system itself. Modern science now shows that sustained attention strengthens the prefrontal cortex and quiets the amygdala, reducing reactivity and fear. Even short moments of mindfulness alter brain connectivity, deepening the dialogue between emotion and reason. Through practice, evolution continues at the level of experience. The brain rewires itself around what it attends to. Think of how a musician learns. At first, every note demands effort. Fingers stumble, awareness scatters. But with repetition, focus refines the pathways of motion and sound. In time, playing becomes effortless. The mind enters flow, that seamless unity of attention and action. This is learning written into the structure of the brain. Throughout history, every discipline has mirrored this process. The painter returning to a canvas each day, the sailor reading the currents of wind and tide, the scientist watching data emerge one careful experiment at a time. Each human craft is a conversation between focus and surrender. Too much tension breaks concentration. Too little and attention drifts. The art lies in balance. Evolution favored that balance. The mind that could shift between alertness and calm survived storms and seasons. It could act when needed and rest when danger passed. This rhythm, work and rest, focus and release, still governs the body. Your own breath follows it now, drawing in, letting go. The cycle of attention mirrors the cycle of life itself. As centuries unfolded, focus shaped civilizations and stories alike. The myths of heroes often begin with a call to attention, a voice, a sign, a glimpse of light in darkness. The hero follows it, leaving distraction behind. Every journey begins with noticing something more important than comfort. In that sense, the human adventure is an ongoing lesson in what to attend to. Even the tools we create reflect our habits of focus. The lens, the telescope, the microscope, each extends the reach of attention. They allow us to look further, deeper, closer. The printing press multiplied objects of focus, spreading words across continents. And with each leap, attention adapted, learning to move between detail and overview, between reading a line and seeing a pattern. Today, the same evolution continues in digital form. The screen glows like ancient firelight, gathering minds around shared symbols. But unlike the still flames of old, it flickers with constant change. Notifications, colors, sounds each competes for the brain's limited capacity. Our ancient networks, tuned for scarcity, meet a flood. The challenge of this era is not to gain attention, but to reclaim it. And yet, the capacity remains. Beneath the noise, the old circuits still function as they always have. When you pause, breathe, and choose where to look, you awaken the most ancient intelligence within you. You restore the rhythm that evolution refined over millions of years. Consider for a moment how miraculous this ability is. Out of all the sensations surrounding you, the pressure of the chair, the whisper of air, the memory of earlier hours, you can select one thread and follow it. You can hold a single idea in mind while countless others fade. In that act, you define your experience of reality. From an evolutionary view, consciousness itself may have arisen as the ultimate focusing mechanism. To survive in complex environments, organisms needed not just reflexes, but models of the world. They needed to predict, to simulate, to remember. Attention became the bridge between external reality and internal imagination. Over time, that bridge became self-awareness. The philosopher Teilhard de Chardin once wrote that evolution is the rise of consciousness towards self-reflection. In the human mind, the universe folds back upon itself, becoming aware of its own process. Through attention, matter contemplates matter. Through you, the cosmos studies its own patterns of energy. When you focus on a star, you are the universe noticing a point of its own light. When you focus on your breath, you are life recognizing its rhythm. This is not poetry alone, it is biology. The same atoms that formed in stellar furnaces now participate in awareness, choosing, attending, understanding. The long journey from reflex to focus to reflection is not finished. Each generation inherits not only genes, but habits of attention. Parents teach children what to look for, what to value, what to fear. Culture sculpts the lens through which perception passes. The task of each mind is to refine that lens, to clean it of distortion and see clearly. To cultivate attention is therefore to participate in evolution consciously. Every moment of mindful awareness strengthens the pathways of clarity over confusion, patience over impulse, compassion over fear. This is how humanity evolves, not only in body but in mind. So when you find yourself distracted, do not judge. Remember that distraction is also ancient, a necessary motion of the mind scanning for change. The art is to notice the drift and return, again and again. That return is evolution continuing in real time. The story of attention is the story of becoming human. It is the shift from reacting to reflecting, from survival to meaning. Our ancestors learned to look outward and survive. We learn to look inward and understand. Both acts arise from the same source, the capacity to be aware. As this chapter draws to its quiet close, imagine the long arc of that evolution, from a single cell turning toward light, to you sitting here, listening, thinking, breathing. Billions of years of motion have led to this stillness. Countless moments of noticing have led to this one. Focus is not a gift granted once. It is a practice renewed each instant. The mind awakens through the simple act of seeing what is here. Every breath, every sound, every pause is part of the same unfolding. The evolution of focus is the evolution of life itself, the slow awakening of the universe into awareness. Now, let that awareness soften. Feel the weight of your body resting into gravity, the slow rhythm of your breathing, the ancient circuits of attention quiet, their task complete for now. You are the continuation of an endless story, the latest expression of an old intelligence that has always known how. Rest in that knowing. The journey of focus has carried you through time to this single moment of presence. And here, the story continues, softly, in the light of awareness that never ends. The brain's spotlight. Inside the human brain, attention is both ancient and new. It lives in the deepest folds of instinct and the highest arcs of thought. When you focus, you are witnessing a biological symphony, billions of years in the making. Each cell, each impulse, each electrical whisper moves in harmony to create a single act of noticing. To understand attention is to enter the living machinery of awareness itself. The brain is not a single organ of thought, but a network of countless conversations. Neurons speak in pulses of electricity, flickering at the speed of light across a web of delicate branches. Somewhere within that constant flow, attention chooses what will rise from chaos into clarity. Imagine a beam of light in a vast, dark room. Where it falls, the details come alive. The rest remains hidden in shadow. This is how attention works. It illuminates certain parts of reality while leaving others unseen. Yet the light is not a single lamp. It is a moving dance of energy across the brain's networks, flexible, dynamic, always searching. At the heart of this process lies the thalamus, a small structure deep in the center of the brain. It acts as a gateway, a relay station through which almost all sensory information must pass. Every sound, every sight, every touch enters through this gate, but only a fraction of it continues forward to consciousness. The thalamus decides what deserves entry and what fades into silence. Above it, the prefrontal cortex, the newest part of the human brain, acts as a conductor. It sets goals, holds intentions, and directs attention like a spotlight. When you decide to focus on a task, this region sends signals backward, guiding sensory pathways to amplify what matters and ignore what does not. It is this conversation between the ancient thalamus and the modern prefrontal cortex that shapes every moment of awareness. When you read a page, neurons in your occipital lobe translate shapes into letters, meaning into memory. But they do so only under the gentle command of attention. Without it, the words blur into nothing. When you listen deeply to a sound, the auditory cortex lights up in rhythm with what you hear. When your focus drifts, that rhythm fades. Attention is what keeps perception alive. Scientists once imagined that attention worked like a single beam of light shining steadily. But modern research reveals something more. The brain's spotlight flickers. It shifts rapidly between stimuli, sampling pieces of the world and weaving them into a continuous experience. In microseconds, your awareness moves from sound to sight to thought, creating the illusion of seamless focus. Within this flicker lies the brain's extraordinary efficiency. The mind cannot process everything at once. The world delivers far more information than any neural network could handle. So attention acts as a filter, allowing only what aligns with your goals, your emotions, and your expectations to enter conscious thought. This selectivity is not a flaw. It is the reason consciousness exists at all. Even now, as you listen, countless sensations lie outside awareness. The pressure of your feet on the ground, the hum of distant noise, the rhythm of your heartbeat, all are present, yet only one or two rise into clarity. With a small shift of focus, the unseen becomes seen, the unconscious becomes conscious. That shift is the movement of the brain's spotlight. The neural choreography of attention depends on timing. Oscillations ripple through the cortex like waves on a sea, coordinating the firing of millions of neurons. These waves form rhythms of different frequencies: theta, alpha, beta, gamma, each tuned to a specific function. Slow waves synchronize distant brain regions, linking emotion and memory. Fast waves sharpen perception and precision. When you are fully focused, these rhythms align into harmony. Attention, then, is not stillness, but rhythm. It breathes in patterns, rising and falling like tide and wind. When your focus wavers, the rhythm becomes irregular. When you meditate or enter flow, it steadies into coherence. The state of mind you feel, as calm or distracted, is the music of these waves playing beneath awareness. Dopamine, acetylcholine, and norepinephrine act as the brain's chemical conductors. They adjust the volume of attention. Dopamine motivates focus, rewarding the pursuit of goals. Acetylcholine sharpens sensory precision, allowing you to tune into detail. Norepinephrine awakens alertness, readying the mind for change. Together they sculpt the texture of consciousness moment by moment. But attention is not only chemical or electrical, it is emotional. What you care about shapes what you see. The amygdala, deep within the brain, scans for relevance. It whispers to the cortex what is urgent, what is meaningful, what might threaten or delight. That whisper pulls the spotlight towards certain stimuli and away from others. Emotion and attention are partners, guiding each other through the labyrinth of experience. This partnership can serve or enslave. A fearful mind narrows its focus until the world becomes danger. A joyful mind widens, seeing possibility and beauty. The state of attention, therefore, determines the shape of reality. What you notice grows. What you ignore fades. Over time, this selective perception builds the world you inhabit within. In meditation studies, scientists observe how training attention reshapes the brain. Long-term meditators show increased density in regions that control awareness and emotion. Their prefrontal cortex communicates more smoothly with deeper structures, allowing them to sustain focus without strain. The spotlight becomes softer, steadier, less reactive. With practice, attention learns to rest on its object, like sunlight on water. The same principle appears in daily life. When you attend fully to a simple act, sipping tea, listening to a friend, feeling wind on your skin, the brain's networks settle into harmony. The default mode network, which generates self-referential thought, grows quiet. The sensory networks brighten. The boundary between inner and outer begins to dissolve. This is not mysticism, but measurable neuroscience. Presence is a physiological state. The spotlight of attention can also split, though imperfectly. When you try to multitask, the brain does not hold two lights steady at once. It switches rapidly between them, a flicker invisible to conscious time. Each switch carries a cost lost milliseconds, fragmented memory, reduced depth of processing. The illusion of multitasking is a shimmer of the spotlight, not its expansion. Through this lens, even creativity reveals itself as a rhythm of attention. During inspiration, focus relaxes. The spotlight diffuses, allowing distant ideas to connect. During execution, it tightens again, guiding precision and clarity. The dance between wide and narrow attention is the essence of art, science, and problem-solving. The brain alternates between openness and concentration, between light that spreads and light that pierces. When attention falters, the mind drifts into daydream. Far from being failure, this drift is also essential. It allows the brain to integrate, to wander, to discover hidden links. The spotlight dims so the background can speak. Many discoveries arise from this balance, a mind flexible enough to move between focus and freedom. Yet modern life often tilts that balance toward fragmentation. The spotlight jumps from message to image to sound, never resting long enough to see deeply. The brain, built for rhythm, is pulled into constant interruption. In this state, neural resources scatter, and the mind feels restless, anxious, perpetually unfinished. Still, within you lies the power to reclaim coherence. Every time you breathe consciously, you reset the spotlight's rhythm. The thalamus steadies. The prefrontal cortex regains control and scattered signals begin to align. In that moment, the body and brain remember their ancient harmony. Attention is energy. It flows where intention leads. The more you understand its pathways, the more gracefully you can guide it. This is not control, but cooperation. The mind, learning to work with its own nature. When you rest attention on the breath, you train the networks of focus. When you extend attention toward compassion, you strengthen empathy's circuits. The brain becomes what it attends to. Imagine the neural landscape as a forest. Each active focus is a footstep along a path. Walk it often enough, and the path becomes clear, the foliage pressed down, the way easier to follow. This is neuroplasticity in simple form. Where attention goes, synapses grow. Where it does not, they fade like unused trails. In this way, your daily moments of focus are shaping your brain as tangibly as wind shapes stone. Every time you choose calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, the forest rearranges itself to favor peace. Evolution continues not in the species alone, but in the silent architecture of your awareness. When you close your eyes tonight, that spotlight will not vanish. It will turn inward, illuminating the quiet theater of dreams. Even in sleep, attention flickers in different rhythms, watching over the body, selecting which memories to keep and which to release. The brain never fully rests. It merely shifts the direction of its light. And when you wake, the world returns, waiting to be seen anew. The same sunlight that touched the first minds still glows within yours. The same electrical rhythms that guided ancient creatures still pulse beneath your skull. Each morning, the universe begins again through the miracle of attention. The brain's spotlight is not something you must earn. It is the natural function of being alive. Awareness is the light by which existence is revealed. To notice that you are noticing is to awaken to your own source. So let your focus soften now. Feel how the edges of thought blur as the spotlight widens. The thalamus quiets. The cortex hums in gentle synchrony. This is what presence feels like inside the brain: order, rhythm, balance. The same forces that once scanned the forest now listen to silence. The same circuits that once kept you alive now allow you to rest. As the light of attention fades towards stillness, remember that it never disappears. It only waits, patient, within the dark. Awareness itself is the constant behind all change. You are both the light and what it reveals. Rest here for a while. The brain's spotlight glows quietly, illuminating nothing but the peace of being aware. The story of attention continues, one breath at a time, one pulse of light within the living mind, the dance of distraction. The human mind is both ancient and modern. It was built for the rhythm of wind, water, and flame. For thousands of generations, it learned to attend to what moved, what changed, what mattered for survival. In that quiet world, every sound carried meaning. A rustle meant prey or predator. A shadow meant shelter or threat. The mind evolved to notice difference, and in that noticing, life was preserved. But now the world has changed faster than evolution can follow. The same circuits that once scanned the horizon now scan glowing screens. The same reflex that once kept the tribe safe now answers to 1,000 invisible signals. The ancient machinery of attention still runs, but the landscape it faces is unlike any before. This is the dance of distraction. Every second, the modern brain receives more information than it was ever designed to handle. Notifications, messages, headlines, images, voices, all competing for the same small window of focus. The average person shifts attention hundreds of times each hour. The spotlight flickers between fragments of thought, and with each shift, a little energy is lost, a little depth fades away. The prefrontal cortex, The seat of deliberate focus tires easily. It is powerful but limited. Like a muscle, it can hold attention only so long before fatigue sets in. The deeper parts of the brain, driven by curiosity and novelty, tug constantly at its edges. Dopamine, the molecule of motivation, surges with every new signal, rewarding the hunt for stimulation. Each vibration of the phone, each scroll of the thumb, releases a pulse of excitement, small but persistent. The reward system learns quickly. It does not ask if the new thing matters, only if it is new. This is the paradox of the distracted mind. The same chemistry that once guided our ancestors toward discovery now binds us to endless loops of seeking. Novelty promised survival once. Now it promises satisfaction and rarely delivers. The result is a restless cycle, a dance between wanting and wandering, between effort and emptiness. Distraction itself is not an enemy. It is a messenger. It tells you that the mind is overloaded, that attention has been stretched beyond its natural range. To understand distraction is to understand the balance between awareness and rest. Focus is the inhale. Distraction is the exhale. Both belong to the same rhythm of mind. When attention fragments, memory fragments with it. Each interruption forces the brain to reload context, to rebuild the thread of meaning. Studies show that even a brief distraction can double the time required to return to deep focus. The cost is not measured in minutes alone, but in the loss of continuity, the feeling of being fully engaged, fully alive within one task. In older times, the world offered natural intervals for the mind to rest. Night followed day. Seasons shifted slowly. Work was bounded by light and darkness. The body and attention moved together. Now the day never truly ends. Light glows through the night. Information flows without pause. The nervous system, caught in perpetual alert, forgets how to stop. Yet deep within, the mind remembers. The same rhythms that once guided the rise and fall of focus still exist. They can be reawakened through stillness. When you pause, breathe, and let the noise settle, the neural oscillations of the brain begin to align. Alpha waves rise, signaling calm alertness. Cortisol drops. The body remembers what it means to rest. In that space of calm, attention regathers itself. The flicker slows. Awareness widens. You begin to notice what was drowned out by constant noise, the faint hum of your own heartbeat, the subtle warmth of your skin, the quiet between the breaths. In those small moments, the mind remembers its original landscape. But distraction does not come only from outside. It also rises from within. Thoughts appear, memories drift, emotions call for notice. The mind, left to itself, moves restlessly from one idea to another. Psychologists call it the default mode network, the brain's internal narrator. It spins stories about the past and future, about what could have been and what might be. Its voice is not unkind, but it is endless. To live in a constant narration is to live one step removed from life. Attention, pulled by thought, forgets the immediacy of presence. Yet the cure for internal distraction is not suppression, but seeing clearly. When you notice a thought without following it, the mind quiets. Awareness becomes the watcher, not the wanderer. Meditation teaches this simple act of return, not by fighting distraction, but by greeting it with calm acknowledgement. Each return strengthens attention. Each moment of noticing thought as thought rewires the brain towards stability. It is not about silence, but about clarity. Even when the mind is busy, you can be aware that it is busy, that awareness itself is focus. Consider the mind of a craftsman. Hands move with precision. Tools meet material. The body and mind align in purpose. In such moments, there is no room for distraction. The brain's networks of attention and movement synchronize perfectly. Time slows, awareness deepens. This is not the absence of distraction by force, but by immersion. Flow is attention so complete that nothing remains outside it. Yet even flow requires contrast. After focus must come release. Without rest, the neural pathways of concentration grow brittle. Fatigue makes distraction inevitable. The art is not to eliminate distraction, but to move gracefully with it, to notice when the mind drifts, to pause, and to return. Imagine standing beside a river. Thoughts and sensations flow past like water. Distraction is simply when the current carries you downstream. Focus is the moment you step back onto the shore and see the water clearly again. You do not stop the river. You simply choose where to stand. Modern life rarely teaches this stance. It rewards motion over stillness, reaction over reflection. But the brain is still ancient. It cannot thrive in constant acceleration. Without intervals of quiet, the networks of attention become noisy, their signals blurred. Over time, this leads to anxiety, irritability, and mental fatigue. The cure is as simple as it is profound rest, breath, presence. To restore focus, you must first restore rhythm. Attention thrives on cycles, periods of engagement followed by pauses, moments of depth followed by expansion. The heartbeat, the breath, the pulse of waking and sleeping all follow this pattern. The mind, too, must obey it. Try for a moment to feel that rhythm now. As you inhale, awareness sharpens. As you exhale, it softens. Focus is not a rigid grip, but a wave that moves through you. When you understand that, distraction loses its power. It becomes part of the movement, not the enemy of it. Technology amplifies both the challenge and the opportunity of attention. The same tools that scatter focus can also train it. A screen can display endless noise, or it can guide you into meditation. A network can fragment the mind, or it can connect minds in learning and calm. The difference lies in intention. The brain responds to how it is used, not what it uses. In classrooms and workplaces, scientists now study how micro breaks, short moments of mindfulness, can reset the prefrontal cortex. Even a minute of quiet breathing restores working memory and clarity. Attention recovers not through force, but through balance. The more we honor that rhythm, the more resilient focus becomes. Distraction also reveals what the mind longs for. Beneath every restless glance lies a hunger for novelty, for relief, for meaning. When attention feels empty, it searches outward. But often, what it truly seeks is depth. The scattered mind is not lazy, it is thirsty. It wants to belong to something that holds its interest long enough to feel whole. To heal distraction, give the mind something worthy of devotion. That is the quiet secret behind art, love, and curiosity. They are forms of focus that feed the soul. When you look at something you love, attention becomes effortless. The dance of distraction ends and stillness begins. The same chemistry that once chased novelty now settles into contentment. The dopamine of discovery transforms into the serotonin of peace. So the task is not to fight distraction, but to refine it, to notice what pulls you and ask why, to choose where your mind will rest, rather than letting it be claimed by noise. This is the difference between attention and attachment. Attention sees, attachment clings, awareness releases. The brain, remarkable in its adaptability, reshapes itself with every act of awareness. The more you practice steady focus, the easier it becomes. The more you practice returning from distraction, the faster the return. These are not traits of willpower alone, but of biology. Neurons learn the rhythm of attention like muscle learns motion. And when the mind grows still, even briefly, It remembers its origin, that vast, quiet awareness from which thought arises. In that stillness, there is no distraction because there is no division. The watcher and the watched are one. Distraction will always exist. It is the shadow side of consciousness, the echo of curiosity that keeps life moving. But when you understand its nature, it ceases to rule you. It becomes another part of the dance, a step that leads you back to balance. The world outside may never grow quiet, but the mind within can. Through rhythm, intention, and awareness, attention finds its home again. And in that home, in that steady flame of presence, you discover the oldest peace of all. The calm of simply being here, noticing what is, and letting everything else fall away into silence. The mindful observer. There is a moment, subtle and small, that separates chaos from calm. It is the instant you become aware that you are aware. The space between stimulus and response. The shift from being inside thought to watching it. This is the beginning of mindfulness, the birth of the observer within. For most of our lives, attention flows outward. It touches objects, sounds, tasks, people. It moves restlessly across the surface of existence, pulled by need and novelty. But there comes a time, often in quiet or exhaustion, when that flow turns inward. Awareness notices itself. The spotlight, once fixed on the world, begins to illuminate the mind that shines it. In that moment, consciousness folds back upon itself. The thinker sees thinking. The feeler feels feeling. You become not the thought, but the witness to it. This shift, though simple, changes everything. It transforms attention from reaction into observation, from noise into clarity. The mindful observer is not an escape from life. It is life, seen clearly. When you observe without judgment, you do not withdraw from experience. You deepen it. You see anger as energy moving through the body. You see sadness as weather passing through the sky of awareness. The waves rise and fall, but the sky remains. Neuroscience has begun to map this experience. When mindfulness deepens, the brain's default mode network, the system that constructs the sense of self, grows quiet. Regions of attention and sensory awareness brighten. The chatter of identity fades into stillness. This does not erase the self, but reveals it as a process, not a thing. Awareness remains, luminous and steady, behind all change. Imagine sitting beside a calm lake. The surface reflects clouds and trees, yet beneath the surface lies depth and silence. Thoughts are the ripples, awareness the water itself. When you stop struggling against thought, the ripples fade and the reflection clears. You see the world as it is, not as the restless mind paints it. The mindful observer arises through practice, but it is not created by it. It was always there, waiting beneath the noise. Practice only clears the fog that hides it. Each time you bring attention back to the present moment, to the breath, the body, the sound, you return to that original clarity. The observer watches gently, without forcing, without analyzing. It sees with kindness. Mindfulness does not require silence or solitude. It can live in the ordinary rhythm of the day, washing hands, hearing footsteps, feeling air. Every act can become a doorway to awareness. The key is not what you do, but how fully you notice. Even simple movement can reveal profound stillness when seen clearly. In ancient teachings, mindfulness was described as right attention, the art of holding awareness steady without grasping. To look, but not cling. To feel, but not drown. To know, but not control. Modern science translates this into attentional stability and meta-awareness. The brain learns to monitor its own state, to know when it is distracted and to return. This meta-awareness strengthens neural pathways between the prefrontal cortex and the insula, the region that tracks bodily sensations. The result is presence anchored in the body, calm but alert. Breath is the bridge to this state. Each inhale draws awareness inward. Each exhale releases it outward. When the mind wanders, breath is always here, a rhythm that never stops. To notice it is to return home. The observer breathes through you, not as effort, but as being. In daily life, the mindful observer reveals the world in new light. The same street looks softer, more detailed. The same conversation feels slower, more real. You begin to hear tone, see gesture, sense emotion beneath words. This is empathy through awareness, not thinking about another, but feeling with them, present and open. The brain mirrors this empathy through specialized cells called mirror neurons. They fire both when you act and when you see another act. Attention, when mindful, connects these neurons in harmony. You feel others not as separate, but as part of the same field of awareness. This is the biological root of compassion. Yet mindfulness is not constant. The observer drifts, the mind forgets. That is natural. What matters is the return. Each time you notice you have wandered, you strengthen awareness. Each return is a small awakening. Over time, these awakenings accumulate, and the gap between distraction and noticing grows shorter. The observer matures. The great teachers of old spoke of this training as polishing a mirror. Each act of mindfulness removes a layer of dust. At first, the reflection is faint, blurred by habit. But with patience, the image clears until you see the face of reality itself. What you find there is not new. It is what has always been the simple brilliance of awareness. Science echoes this truth. Long-term meditation alters not only brain activity, but structure. Gray matter increases in areas related to attention, emotion regulation, and empathy. The amygdala, center of fear and stress, becomes less reactive. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of focus, grows thicker and more connected. The mind, through awareness, reshapes itself. This self-directed evolution reveals the deepest gift of mindfulness, neuroplasticity guided by intention. The brain becomes a living record of what it practices. Practice attention, and you build focus. Practice kindness, and you build compassion. Practice awareness, and you build peace. Each thought, each breath, writes a new pattern into the neural fabric of being. The mindful observer does not seek perfection. It embraces impermanence. Awareness sees thought arise and fade, sensation bloom and vanish, emotions swell and dissolve. In this rhythm, you discover freedom. You realize that nothing need be clung to, because everything moves. Awareness is the only constant. In that realization lies deep rest. The effort to control fades. The struggle to be different fades. What remains is acceptance, not resignation, but openness. The world becomes what it always was: dynamic, interconnected, alive. From a psychological view, mindfulness transforms the relationship between thought and emotion. Normally, thoughts trigger automatic reactions. A memory sparks anxiety. A word provokes anger. But when awareness intervenes, space appears. You see the thought as thought, the feeling as feeling. The automatic chain breaks. The mind responds instead of reacts. This simple gap, measured in seconds, changes the course of behavior. Studies show that mindfulness reduces impulsivity, addiction, and stress by increasing activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, the region that mediates conflict and self-regulation. Awareness slows the reflex long enough for wisdom to speak. Over time, mindfulness softens identity itself. You begin to see that the self you defend, the story you tell, is not solid but flowing. It is a river of experience, not a fixed thing. The observer rests on the bank, watching the current. Thoughts of who you are pass like reflections on water. You need not chase them. you can simply see. This does not erase personality or memory. It reveals their impermanence. The observer can still act, love, create, and dream, but without confusion. Life becomes play, not struggle. Existence becomes art. Mindfulness does not remove pain. It changes its nature. When you observe pain directly, without resistance, it unfolds into sensation, into energy, into impermanence. Suffering lessens because the mind no longer divides itself. Awareness welcomes even discomfort as part of the whole. The same is true for joy. Mindfulness heightens pleasure, not by seeking more, but by fully experiencing less. A single sip of tea, taken with complete attention, can hold more satisfaction than a feast consumed in haste. The present moment, seen clearly, contains depth beyond measure. In this way, mindfulness reveals the richness hidden beneath ordinary life. Every sound, every texture, every breath becomes a portal. Awareness transforms routine into wonder. The world, once dull from habit, shines again. When attention rests in awareness, thought becomes transparent. You can think without being lost in thinking, feel without drowning in feeling, act without the noise of doubt. This is not withdrawal from life, but intimate participation. You move through the world with calm alertness, anchored in the quiet witness within. The mindful observer is both timeless and fleeting. It arises anew in each moment you remember it. There is no permanence to hold, only the act of seeing. In that act, awareness fulfills itself. So as you listen, feel the soft rhythm of your breath. Notice the weight of your body resting, the sound of your heartbeat, the quiet in the room. Let thoughts come and go like clouds in a wide sky. You are not the cloud. You are the sky. This is the essence of the mindful observer, open, steady, and free. The light of awareness shining gently on all things, asking nothing, fearing nothing, simply being. And as the chapter closes, remember that this observer is not something you must find. It is what you have always been, the one who listens now, the quiet presence behind every word, the awareness that never sleeps. Rest there for a while in that stillness, and know that mindfulness is not a practice alone. It is the natural state of an undistracted mind, the pure art of noticing life as it is. Time and presence, and time. It is the silent river in which every thought, every breath, and every heartbeat drifts. It is the measure of change, the unfolding of cause and effect, the pulse of existence itself. But time, as the mind knows it, is not merely the ticking of clocks or the movement of stars. It is something far more intimate, a perception woven by attention. The experience of time is born in awareness. When the mind is scattered, time feels fragmented. When the mind is focused, time dissolves. The brain, in its rhythms and chemistry, constructs the illusion of flow, stitching moments together into continuity. Yet in truth, there is only this instant endlessly renewed, endlessly alive. Presence is the experience of time without division. It is what happens when awareness no longer runs ahead or lags behind, when attention rests fully on what is here. In presence, seconds expand. The ordinary becomes infinite. The mind, released from memory and expectation, encounters the raw texture of existence. Science confirms what mystics have long known. The brain's perception of time depends on attention. When focus narrows, as in deep concentration or meditation, activity in the prefrontal cortex slows. Neural oscillations synchronize into calm coherence. The sense of past and future weakens, replaced by a spacious awareness of now. Minutes or hours may pass unnoticed. This is the timelessness of flow, the deep current beneath the surface of ordinary thought. In contrast, when attention fragments, time splinters. The brain switches rapidly between tasks, each shift resetting the inner clock. Moments lose continuity. You feel rushed, not because time moves faster, but because awareness skips like a stone. The world becomes a blur of half-seen impressions. The cure is not to slow time, but to slow attention. Presence is the still point between movement and memory. It cannot be forced, only allowed. It appears when the noise of thought quiets and the senses open. When you hear the hum of life without naming it, when you feel breath without commentary, when you see light without labeling color, then you enter the living present. It is not something you reach for. It is what remains when reaching stops. The brain holds two clocks, one in the outer world, one in the inner. The outer clock measures duration, the seconds and minutes that can be recorded, compared, divided. The inner clock measures experience, how full, how deep, how alive a moment feels. Attention governs the second clock. When the mind is distracted, an hour can vanish without memory. When you are immersed, a single minute contains eternity. Neuroscientists have found that the striatum and insula track temporal flow by monitoring internal states, heartbeat, breath, emotion. When you are calm, these signals synchronize and time feels smooth. When anxious, they fragment. Fear accelerates perception, making each instant sharp, stretched, and restless. That is why danger feels slow and peace feels timeless. The experience of time is the experience of the nervous system itself. Philosophers have long wrestled with the mystery of now. St. Augustine wrote, "What is time? If no one asks me, I know. If I wish to explain it, I do not." The mind can imagine past and future, but it can never find them. Memory is a trace. Anticipation is a projection. Only the present exists, and even that slips away when we try to grasp it. Yet, within presence, there is a paradox. The more you try to stay in the now, the further you drift. Presence is not holding on. It is letting go. It is the relaxation of thought into awareness, the soft surrender of control. It comes when effort ceases and observation remains. Imagine sitting in a quiet room. You hear the faint ticking of a clock. Each tick marks a second. You listen, not counting, not naming, just hearing. After a while, the ticks lose sequence. They merge into a continuous rhythm. In that rhythm, the sense of time fades. You are not in time. You are time. This state is the essence of flow described by psychologists like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the merging of action and awareness, where self-consciousness disappears. The brain in flow releases dopamine and endorphins, deepening engagement. Alpha and theta waves dominate, creating a bridge between focus and relaxation. The internal clock slows, expanding perception. This is why artists, musicians, and athletes speak of timeless moments when doing becomes being. Presence can also be found in stillness. When nothing happens, awareness turns inward. You sense subtle movements, the rise of breath, the beating heart, the hum of life itself. Here too, time opens. Each second reveals its own depth. You begin to see that time is not passing through you. You are passing through it, like light through water. The practice of presence is not confined to meditation. It can bloom in conversation, in nature, in the simplest act of noticing. When you listen without preparing to reply, you touch timelessness. When you walk without rushing, you meet eternity in each step. The miracle of life lies not in duration, but in depth. Attention, emotion, and memory form the triangle of temporal experience. Emotion marks moments with significance. Attention selects them. Memory preserves them. When you are fully present, this triangle aligns. What you notice deeply becomes what you remember clearly. This is why meaningful moments seem longer, they are richer in awareness. Presence also heals the wounds of time. Regret lives in the past, anxiety in the future. Awareness dissolves both by returning attention to what is real. When the mind stops rehearsing, what was or what might be, suffering loses its grip. You discover that peace was never far away, only hidden beneath thought. The nervous system mirrors this peace. When attention settles in the present, the parasympathetic branch activates, slowing heart rate and deepening breath. The body interprets presence as safety. Stress hormones drop, immune function rises. Mindfulness does not merely calm the mind, it recalibrates the body's entire rhythm. From the perspective of physics, time flows forward because entropy increases. The universe moves from order to disorder. But awareness moves differently. It does not follow direction. It holds everything at once, past impressions, present sensations, future possibilities in a single field of knowing. When you are present, you sense this wholeness. You feel connected, not just to now, but to everything that ever was and will be. In this sense, presence is the doorway between the finite and the infinite. Through attention, the limited human mind touches something beyond measurement. You cannot capture it, but you can rest in it. It feels like spaciousness, like warmth, like coming home. The brain's perception of time slows most reliably during awe when you encounter something vast or beautiful beyond comprehension. Standing beneath a night sky, watching the horizon shift from gold to indigo, seeing a child smile, hearing music that moves you, these are moments when awareness expands so wide that time loses meaning. In awe, the mind forgets to measure. It simply experiences. This capacity for timeless wonder is not luxury, it is necessity. It reminds the nervous system of its origin, a state of curiosity without fear. Evolution gifted humans not only survival, but contemplation. The same brain that once scanned for predators now gazes at stars. Attention, once a tool for safety, becomes a bridge to transcendence. Presence teaches that every moment contains both eternity and impermanence. Each breath appears and vanishes, yet the rhythm continues. Each heartbeat marks change, yet the awareness hearing it is unchanged. This coexistence of movement and stillness is the essence of time. To live present is to live in rhythm with reality. It does not mean ignoring the future or denying the past. It means carrying them lightly, letting them inform without imprisoning. Presence gathers experience without clinging to it. It moves through time as wind moves through trees, touching everything, holding nothing. In relationships, presence is love in its purest form. When you give someone your full attention, you offer the most precious thing you have, your time, unfragmented. That act communicates more than words. It says, "You exist, and I see you." Connection is built not by constant interaction, but by moments of complete awareness. Presence also changes creativity. In the present, ideas are not forced, they emerge. When the mind relaxes its grip on control, intuition rises. Artists speak of inspiration as something that happens through them, not by them. This surrender to the moment allows the subconscious and conscious to merge. Time vanishes and creation flows. Even memory itself depends on presence. To remember later, you must first have truly been there. Moments lived half aware are barely recorded. Moments lived fully leave deep impressions. Presence is the brush that paints experience onto the canvas of the mind. In spiritual traditions, presence is the essence of awakening. To be awake is not to see visions or escape the world, but to inhabit it completely. When awareness fills every cell, every sound, every silence, the boundary between inner and outer dissolves. You no longer experience time as something passing through you. You experience yourself as the awareness through which time flows. Presence does not depend on belief or philosophy. It is the direct experience of being. It can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any moment. All that is required is attention, gentle, patient, curious. So pause now. Feel the movement of your breath, the subtle pulse beneath your skin, the sounds around you merging into a soft hum. Notice that as you attend, the sense of before and after fades. There is only this single unfolding instant, this awareness that holds it all. Time and presence are not opposites. They are partners in the dance of being. Time gives structure to experience. Presence gives it meaning. Together they form the rhythm of consciousness, the song of existence itself. And in that song, each note is precious, each pause essential. Presence allows you to hear the music beneath the noise. It reminds you that the past is memory, the future imagination, and the present reality. To live here is to live fully. To be aware is to be timeless. Rest then in this awareness. The clock may continue to tick, the stars may continue to move, but the heart of experience remains still. You are not moving through time. Time is moving through you. And in that stillness, life is always beginning again and again right now. Emotion and attention. Every moment of awareness carries a pulse of feeling. Even before words, before thought, emotion flows through perception like color through light. It is not separate from attention, but interwoven with it. What you feel determines what you notice, and what you notice deepens what you feel. Emotion and attention are the twin currents of consciousness, shaping how reality appears within you. Imagine walking through a forest. If you are anxious, every sound sharpens into warning. A twig snaps and attention locks. The same forest, entered in peace, glows with beauty. The bird song becomes music, the air alive with calm. Nothing outside has changed. The difference is the emotion guiding your focus. The world you see is the world your feelings allow. Deep inside the brain, emotion and attention share ancient roots. The limbic system, especially the amygdala, hippocampus, and insula, evaluates experience for significance. Before thought can decide, feeling has already marked the moment as important or irrelevant, safe or dangerous, pleasant or painful. These emotional signals direct the brain's spotlight, telling it where to look, what to hold, and what to release. Attention is not cold reason. It is guided by the heart of the nervous system. The amygdala acts as the brain's alarm and magnet. It detects emotional salience, anything that might affect survival or well-being, and alerts the rest of the mind. When something matters deeply, its image glows brighter in consciousness. That glow is not illusion, but biology. It is how the brain ensures that what is meaningful is also memorable. Emotion sears experience into awareness. The hippocampus, seat of memory, works in concert with emotion. Without emotional color, memory fades quickly. With it, moments become vivid and lasting. A single joyful encounter or painful loss can live in the mind for decades because attention and emotion fused in that instant. The nervous system remembers not only what happened, but how it felt. The insula, hidden deep within the cortex, brings the body into this conversation. It tracks sensations, heartbeat, breath, muscle tone, translating them into feelings. When you sense a knot in your stomach or warmth in your chest, it is the insula whispering. These bodily cues feed attention from the inside out. What you feel physically draws your mind toward its source. In this way, emotion grounds attention in the living body. Together, these systems form the emotional compass of awareness. They remind the intellect that perception is not neutral. Every act of noticing is also an act of valuing. You attend to what you care about, whether you know it or not. To understand attention, you must understand the heart. Emotion narrows or widens the lens of awareness. Fear contracts it, sharpening focus on threat but blinding you to possibility. Joy widens it, opening the senses to connection and detail. Sadness slows attention, encouraging reflection and depth. Anger accelerates it, seeking targets for release. Each emotion is a distinct pattern of focus. The world changes shape as the mind moves through these states. The prefrontal cortex, the rational planner, tries to balance this emotional flow. It modulates limbic impulses, allowing reflection to temper reaction. Yet even this higher reasoning relies on emotion for guidance. Without feeling, attention loses direction. Patients with damage to emotional centers can reason clearly but cannot decide. They cannot focus on what matters because nothing matters. Emotion gives attention its purpose. In daily life, you can observe this partnership everywhere. Think of a conversation where someone truly listens. Their attention does not arise from discipline alone, but from care. They feel the importance of what is being said. Their eyes, posture, and tone all align. Emotion fuels the focus that creates connection. The same is true in learning. Curiosity, a gentle form of emotion, binds attention to discovery. The brain releases dopamine in anticipation of understanding. This reward deepens engagement, turning study into exploration. Without emotional investment, attention drifts. With it, it thrives. Art and music make this relationship visible. A melody moves you because it captures the dance between feeling and focus. Each note invites emotion, and emotion sustains attention. In a painting, color and form guide the eye not through logic but through sensation. The viewer's heart follows before the mind knows why. Attention, at its core, is aesthetic. Yet emotion can also hijack awareness. When fear or anger dominate, the spotlight freezes. The amygdala floods the system with signals of urgency. The body tightens, the breath quickens, the field of vision narrows. The prefrontal cortex, deprived of calm, loses its capacity for perspective. You see only the immediate, the threatening. This is not weakness, but survival encoded into physiology. The mind protects itself by simplifying the world. In modern life, this ancient reflex often misfires. The threats we face are psychological, not physical deadlines, opinions, uncertainties. The body still reacts as if to danger, pulling attention into loops of worry. Chronic stress keeps the alarm active, distorting perception. Everything begins to look like a problem. The cure is not suppression, but awareness. When you notice the emotion itself, you step outside its command. The observer reclaims the spotlight. Mindfulness transforms the relationship between emotion and attention. In meditation, feelings are neither pursued nor avoided. They are watched. As awareness holds them gently, their intensity softens. The amygdala quiets, the prefrontal cortex regains control, and emotion becomes transparent rather than consuming. You realize that feelings are not fixed realities, but waves passing through awareness. They arise, crest, and dissolve. This realization changes daily life. You learn to pause before reacting, to let attention rest in the body rather than in thought. A breath, a heartbeat, a moment of noticing these are enough to interrupt the old reflex. Emotion loses its power to drag focus away. Awareness sees feeling as part of the landscape, not as the driver of it. Psychologists describe this as emotional regulation through mindfulness. Neural imaging shows increased connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala in those who practice regularly. The pathway of control strengthens, allowing conscious attention to guide emotion rather than be guided by it. Calm becomes not suppression, but clarity. At its best, emotion and attention move together like partners in a dance. Emotion gives focus vitality. Attention gives emotion form. Together, they create meaning. When you love, Your attention dwells on the beloved effortlessly. When you grieve, it circles the absence, learning depth from loss. Every feeling, however painful, teaches the mind where life touches it most deeply. Even negative emotions can awaken awareness. Anger, when seen clearly, reveals boundaries and values. Fear, when examined, exposes vulnerability and the desire to live. Sadness shows connection through absence. Each emotion, observed without judgment, becomes a teacher of presence. It guides attention back to the truth of being alive. In relationships, emotional awareness becomes shared attention. When two people are fully present with each other, their neural rhythms synchronize. Studies using hyperscanning show that brain waves align during deep conversation or empathy. This resonance is not metaphorical. It is literal coherence, the biology of connection. Through attention and emotion, minds become mirrors. The ability to attune to others depends on one's ability to attune to oneself. Self-awareness and empathy are reflections of the same skill. The more clearly you can observe your own feelings, the more gently you can perceive those of another. Awareness transforms emotion into understanding, both inward and outward. In times of distress, remember that attention follows emotion but can also guide it. To shift focus from fear to breath, from anger to observation, from loss to gratitude, is to reshape the brain's emotional map. Over time, these shifts accumulate, rewiring patterns of reactivity into patterns of resilience. Emotion becomes not a storm but a current carrying you home. The interplay between attention and emotion also shapes creativity. The artist must feel deeply to begin, yet focus sharply to complete. Inspiration opens the heart, discipline channels it. The musician who pours feeling into sound does not lose control. They direct it with awareness. Emotion without attention is chaos. Attention without emotion is empty. The union of the two is art. From the perspective of evolution, this union ensured survival. Emotion alerted ancient humans to what mattered. Attention allowed them to act skillfully. Together, they guided behavior toward meaning and connection. The same mechanism that once guarded life now gives it depth. In the stillness of meditation or reflection, you can sense this partnership alive within you. Notice how a thought of kindness warms the chest, how a breath of gratitude widens perception. Notice how tension contracts vision, how ease expands it. Emotion and attention respond to each other continuously. Awareness is the space in which they meet. When you understand this, you no longer fight emotion or chase focus. You simply allow both to move naturally. You become the calm center of their dance. Feelings come and go, attention shifts and returns, yet the awareness holding them remains unchanged. The mindful observer from the previous chapter now learns compassion. It sees not only thought, but the tenderness beneath it. It watches emotion not as interference, but as communication. Each pulse of feeling becomes a message from life itself, saying, "You are here, you are human, you are alive." Let that truth settle in your body. The rhythm of your heart, the softness of breath, the subtle play of sensations, all are forms of feeling. Attend to them gently, and you will discover that emotion is not your enemy. It is the music of being conscious. Presence without feeling is sterile. Feeling without presence is confusion. Together they create wisdom. So rest for a moment in that balance. Feel the quiet emotion of awareness itself, a warmth without object, a peace without reason. This is the union of heart and mind, the still flame that does not flicker even when winds of thought blow through. Emotion and attention will continue their dance for as long as you live, but you can choose how you watch them, from resistance or from wonder, from chaos or from compassion. Choose wonder, choose compassion. For in the end, what you attend to becomes your world, and how you feel shapes the light with which you see it. Be gentle then, with both creativity and flow. There are moments when thought dissolves, when time loses its edge, and the boundary between the self and the world fades. In these moments, the mind does not work, it dances. Action flows without friction. Perception and movement become one. This is the state of flow, the union of creativity and attention, the pure rhythm of consciousness in motion. Creativity begins where control ends. It is not a matter of forcing ideas into shape, but of allowing awareness to move freely through possibility. The brain, when creating, enters a dialogue between order and chaos. The left hemisphere seeks structure, the right drifts through intuition. Between them lies the bridge of attention, guiding thought without gripping it. Flow arises when that bridge becomes effortless. You are doing something that stretches your ability but does not break it. The mind engages completely. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of self-awareness and inner commentary, grows quiet. Dopamine floods the system, sharpening focus and softening resistance. The critic steps aside. The doer remains. This state can happen anywhere: painting, writing, running, speaking, playing an instrument, solving a problem, even cleaning a room. It does not depend on talent or complexity, but on total absorption. When awareness fills the act completely, flow appears. It feels like ease, but it is also deep work. The brain is intensely active, linking distant regions, merging memory, perception, and movement into a seamless field. Scientists studying musicians found that during improvisation, the brain's self-monitoring regions deactivate while creative networks flare alive. The player does not think of notes, they become the music. Painters describe the brush moving by itself. Athletes speak of the body knowing without effort. In all of these, attention and action are no longer separate. The universe expresses itself through the focused human mind. Creativity is the child of curiosity. It begins with attention turned toward wonder. The same impulse that led early humans to draw on cave walls now guides the scientist gazing through a telescope. Creativity is evolution continuing through consciousness, the universe exploring its own potential through you. To create is to listen. Before anything is made, there is a silence, a pause in which awareness waits. In that pause, ideas gather like clouds before rain. The artist senses their weight but does not chase them. Then suddenly, something moves. The brush touches the canvas. The first note sounds. The first word forms. The current of creation begins to flow. Flow requires surrender. It cannot be commanded by will. It comes when effort and ease meet. Too much control and awareness tightens. Too little and focus collapses. The secret lies in trust, the quiet confidence that something larger moves through you. Attention becomes the channel through which creativity travels. Neuroscience describes this as transient hyperfrontality, the temporary quieting of executive control. The analytical mind loosens, allowing deeper associations from the subconscious to rise. This is why creative insight feels sudden, as though discovered rather than made. The brain, freed from constant self-checking, allows patterns to connect in new ways. But flow is not only about inspiration. It is also about discipline. The channel of creativity must be cleared by steady practice. Each repetition strengthens the neural pathways that carry focus. Each failure teaches the rhythm of letting go. The artist, the scientist, the dancer, they are all students of attention. Their craft is the shaping of awareness itself. Consider the craftsman at a wheel, shaping clay. The hands move with precision, guided by feeling rather than calculation. The mind is still, the body alive. In that stillness, time vanishes. Only movement remains. This is the purest expression of attention, embodied, rhythmic, serene. When flow deepens, self and world dissolve. You do not paint the landscape. The landscape paints itself through you. You do not write the story writes itself through your fingers. This is not mysticism. It is the natural outcome of complete presence. When attention merges with action, awareness forgets to divide itself. The brain's chemistry in flow reflects this harmony. Dopamine enhances pattern recognition. Endorphins ease effort. Norepinephrine sharpens perception. Anandamide, the molecule of bliss, spreads calm joy through the system. The result is a state of high focus without tension, deep immersion without fatigue. Flow nourishes the brain as sleep nourishes the body. It restores coherence among neural networks. Afterward, you feel both exhausted and renewed, emptied yet full. This paradox is the sign of true engagement. The mind has stretched to its limits and returned transformed. Creativity thrives in the balance between attention and freedom. Too much control suffocates invention. Too little dissipates it. The artist must learn to hold focus lightly, to listen as much as to act. This skill is not limited to art. It is the same in science, leadership, teaching, or love. Wherever attention becomes play, creativity blooms. Children live naturally in this state. Watch a child absorbed in building, drawing, or imagining. Time does not exist. They do not question the value of what they create. Their attention moves like water, unbroken, alive. The adult mind forgets this freedom under the weight of judgment. Yet the capacity remains, waiting beneath habit. To return to flow is to remember how to play, to see the world again as a possibility. When you allow attention to follow curiosity instead of fear, creativity awakens. The mind stops asking, "Will this work?" and begins to ask, "What if?" The practice of mindfulness opens the same door. When you watch the breath or the sound of life, you learn to rest in awareness without force. That same stillness allows creative insight to appear. Ideas emerge from silence as stars appear in darkness. They are not summoned, they are seen. In modern life, distraction pulls the mind away from this depth. Constant interruptions fragment the continuity required for flow. Creativity demands time, space, and permission to wander. The brain needs intervals of boredom, silence, and rest. Only then can the subconscious weave ideas together. In this sense, idleness is not laziness, but incubation. When you sit quietly and let thought drift, networks of association activate. The default mode network, the cradle of imagination. When paired with later focus, this wandering becomes the foundation of innovation. Creativity, then, is a rhythm, expansion and contraction, exploration and precision, chaos and order. The masters of any field understand this rhythm intuitively. They work with intensity, then step away. They think deeply, then rest completely. The alternation keeps the mind supple. It mirrors the pulse of the universe. Inhale and exhale, creation and dissolution, wave and stillness. Creativity also asks courage. To create is to risk imperfection, to face uncertainty without retreat. The mind that needs control resists this, fearing judgment or failure. But flow dissolves judgment. In its depths, there is no room for comparison. Only doing, only being. This courage grows from trust in attention itself. When you believe that awareness will guide you, fear softens. The next step becomes clear, one moment at a time. Creativity unfolds like breathing, automatic, effortless, alive. Great discoveries in science often arise from this state. Einstein spoke of thought experiments appearing as visions. Kekule dreamt of the serpent forming a circle and awoke to the structure of benzene. Archimedes shouted Eureka, not in calculation, but in spontaneous insight. Each moment of revelation was born from the same, still, playful focus that drives art. Flow is the meeting of intuition and intelligence. Intuition offers direction. Intelligence refines it. Without intuition, reason circles endlessly. Without reason, intuition remains formless. Attention unites them, translating inner possibility into outer reality. To enter flow more often, one must clear the mind of excess. The clutter of doubt, worry, and distraction blocks movement. Simplicity invites creativity. This is why nature restores imagination. Its patterns quiet the analytical mind and awaken the intuitive one. The rhythm of waves, the play of light, the call of birds, all remind the nervous system how to move without effort. As you practice awareness, you begin to notice moments when flow approaches. It feels like alignment, like the mind preparing to leap into something larger. The edges of thought soften, the senses brighten. Energy gathers without strain. Then, without planning, you are there, doing without thinking about doing. In that space, everything becomes graceful. Even mistakes become part of the composition. The line that strays, the note that bends, the idea that fails, all serve the unfolding. Flow accepts imperfection because it has no time to judge. It knows that creation is not about control, but communion. When flow fades, as it always will, do not mourn it. Return to stillness. The cycle continues. Each act of attention, each breath of awareness prepares the ground for the next immersion. The mind learns through rhythm. Creativity is not reserved for the gifted. It is the natural motion of consciousness exploring itself. Every thought, every conversation, every problem solved carries the spark of creation. You are creative by nature because you are aware. Awareness itself is the first act of creation, the universe noticing its own form. So, when you work, play, speak, or rest, notice the flow beneath it. Let attention become light rather than effort. The mind, when trusted, knows how to find its own harmony. You are not separate from the creative universe. You are one of its instruments, one note in its endless song. When attention and action merge, you become the melody. And when silence returns after the song, rest in the quiet that remains. It is the same stillness from which all creativity rises, waiting again for the next moment of awareness to awaken it into form. The divided mind. There is a moment each morning when the mind first opens its eyes. For an instant, there is only awareness, soft, unbroken, quiet. Then the world rushes in. Tasks, names, messages, memories. The calm divides into many streams, each demanding attention. This is the divided mind, the condition of modern life. A mind that tries to live in many directions at once. The brain was not built for this. It evolved to follow one thread at a time, to track prey, tend fire, listen to a voice. Its networks of focus move like a single spotlight, not a constellation. Yet the modern mind believes it can hold several worlds at once. Typing while talking, reading while listening, planning while walking. The truth is more fragile. The brain does not multitask. It switches. Each switch costs time and energy. The prefrontal cortex must pause, unload one context, and load another. This takes seconds, but over a day it fragments hours. Memory weakens, comprehension blurs, satisfaction fades. Studies show that frequent multitasking lowers accuracy, reduces empathy, and increases stress. The divided mind feels productive, but becomes hollow, scattered, tired. At the neural level, Attention is a rhythm, not a flood. The thalamus pulses in cycles of awareness, sampling the world one piece at a time. When tasks multiply, the rhythm stutters. The symphony becomes noise. The more you divide attention, the less you experience. You may see everything and notice nothing. This fragmentation creates a peculiar fatigue. It is not the weariness of labor, but of constant interruption. The nervous system stays alert, waiting for the next demand. The stress hormone cortisol rises, while dopamine surges with each new signal. It is an addiction to novelty, a chemical loop that traps the mind in shallow waters. The more you chase stimulation, the less capable you become of depth. Yet, the divided mind is not a failure of will. It is an adaptation gone astray. The same curiosity that once ensured survival now scatters us. The same sensitivity that made humans intelligent now overwhelms them. The problem is not that we are distracted, but that we have forgotten how to return. Returning begins with awareness. Notice how attention feels when it splits. There is a faint tension behind the eyes, a quickening in the chest, a subtle impatience. You can sense the mind reaching in several directions at once, never quite arriving anywhere. This awareness of division is the first step toward wholeness. To know that you are scattered is already to begin gathering yourself. The cost of divided attention is measured not only in efficiency, but in presence. When you are half in one moment and half in another, you are nowhere fully. The conversation becomes surface, the view becomes background, the experience loses its flavor. The divided mind lives always one step removed from life. But attention can be trained to unify. Begin with one act at a time. When you walk, walk. When you eat, eat. When you listen, truly listen. These are simple instructions, yet they carry profound power. The brain, through repetition, rebuilds its pathways of continuity. Synapses strengthen where attention holds steady. In time, depth replaces speed. To reclaim focus, you must also reclaim boredom. Boredom is not emptiness. It is the space in which depth begins. In the absence of constant stimulation, the mind rediscovers its natural rhythm. Thoughts slow, perception widens, creativity stirs. Boredom is the quiet soil of imagination. To avoid it is to starve the roots of insight. The divided mind also divides the self. You become a chorus of partial voices, the worker, the friend, the thinker, the wanderer, each competing for awareness. This fragmentation breeds confusion. The sense of I loses coherence. Mindfulness reunites these fragments by anchoring them in the body. Breath becomes the meeting point. Inhale, and the scattered pieces return. Exhale, and they rest together. Technology amplifies division. The screen glows, calling attention outward, while the mind remains half within. The brain learns to crave the microdose of novelty. Each swipe and click is a spark of dopamine, fleeting but addictive. The more we indulge it, the shorter our tolerance for stillness becomes. We live on the surface of moments, skimming rather than sinking. Yet the same tools can serve unity when used consciously. The problem is not the device, but the way attention is used through it. When you engage with intention, reading deeply, learning purposefully, creating thoughtfully, the same technology becomes an extension of awareness. The difference lies in the quality of focus, not in the object of it. The divided mind also mirrors the divided world. The constant stream of data reflects humanity's collective attention scattered across billions of points. Each signal seeks to capture the spotlight. The challenge of this century may be not to find more information, but to recover meaning within it. Meaning is born only from sustained attention. Without it, wisdom fades into noise. In the quiet of reflection, Notice how thought itself divides. The mind jumps between memory and imagination, regret and anticipation. Even alone, attention splits between what was and what might be. Presence unites these divisions. When awareness returns to the present, the fragments merge. The mind stops chasing time and begins to live it. Psychologically, a divided mind creates emotional dissonance. Part of you acts, another part watches, another resists. This inattention breeds stress and indecision. Mindfulness softens the division by integrating these parts through compassion. To accept distraction without judgment is to reduce its power. The mind cannot heal through punishment, it heals through understanding. At deeper levels, the divided mind reveals the mystery of consciousness itself. The brain is not one entity, but a coalition of networks. The rational, the emotional, the intuitive, the sensory. They compete and collaborate, creating the fluid unity we call self. Attention is the thread that binds them. When attention fragments, selfhood does too. When attention aligns, the many become one. The philosopher David Bohm described this as a fragmentation versus wholeness. He saw the modern mind as broken into categories, unable to perceive the seamless fabric of reality. To restore wholeness, one must see thought as thought, not as truth, but as a tool. When awareness watches thinking without attachment, the mind ceases to divide itself against itself. Wholeness returns. In the brain, wholeness appears as coherence, neurons firing in harmony across distant regions. Meditation increases this coherence, linking emotion, perception, and cognition. The result is clarity, the sense of being integrated and alive. The divided mind feels noisy, the unified mind feels spacious. Multitasking diminishes memory because it prevents consolidation. For information to become knowledge, it must be processed through attention and emotion. When focus is interrupted, the chain breaks. You may recall fragments, but not meaning. Presence restores that chain. It allows experience to settle into wisdom. The divided mind also weakens empathy. When attention is scattered, you cannot fully perceive another's emotions. Compassion requires stillness, the ability to hold another's experience within awareness. Distraction narrows the window of empathy. Connection thrives only in undivided presence. In daily life, you can sense division even in small things. The urge to check the clock while talking to someone. The pull toward unfinished work while resting. The subtle anxiety of not being everywhere at once. Each is a whisper of fragmentation. The antidote is the same. Return to one thing, the next breath, the voice before you, the moment as it is. To practice unity, imagine attention as water. When scattered, it forms droplets that evaporate quickly. When gathered, it becomes a river, powerful, clear, steady. The same amount of energy, differently arranged, transforms experience. Your mind too can flow this way. All it needs is direction. There is a peace in doing one thing well, in giving yourself entirely to a single act. It might be listening, writing, walking, or resting. In such moments, the world simplifies, the self simplifies. Awareness deepens until even the act dissolves. You are not doing, you are being. The divided mind cannot enter here, only presence can. When you notice yourself pulled apart again, do not despair. The quiet center. In every life there exists a still point, a place beneath thought and noise where everything returns to silence. You have felt it before, though perhaps without naming it. The pause between breaths, the calm that follows understanding, the deep exhale after release. This is the quiet center, the heart of awareness itself. The quiet center is not found by running from the world. It lives within it, beneath it, through it. It is not separate from thought or emotion. It is the space that holds them. It does not remove you from life. It roots you more deeply in it. The same stillness that calms the forest at dawn also lives in your nervous system, waiting patiently beneath the surface of attention. The journey toward this center is not forward, but inward. It begins with noticing the restlessness of the mind, the constant movement from one thing to another, the craving for resolution, the endless attempt to control. Awareness does not stop that movement by force. It simply watches, gently. With each act of noticing, thought slows. The storm quiets. At first, silence feels empty. The mind, accustomed to motion, calls it boredom or loss. But stay with it. Within that quiet, perception sharpens. Sounds grow richer, colors deepen, sensations become delicate and whole. The world does not vanish, it reveals itself. The quiet center is not the absence of experience, but its full presence, uncluttered and alive. Neuroscience describes this calm through balance. The sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, action and rest, find equilibrium. Heart rate slows, breath deepens, brain waves shift toward alpha and theta frequencies. The chemistry of stress dissolves. The body recognizes safety. In this physiological peace, awareness blossoms. Stillness is not passivity. It is the foundation of clear action. When the mind rests in calm, choices arise from insight rather than impulse. The quiet center gives direction without strain. It does not command, it allows. From that allowance, wisdom speaks. In meditation, this stillness becomes familiar. You begin with focus, on breath, on sound, on sensation. Then something changes. Focus softens into openness. Awareness widens until it no longer needs an object. There is only knowing, only presence. This is not something to achieve. It happens when effort falls away. The mind ceases to grasp, and awareness stands free. Psychologically, the quiet center restores integration. When attention rests, the brain's networks synchronize. The chatter of the default mode network fades, replaced by coherent rhythm between hemispheres. Emotion, thought, and sensation align. The divided mind becomes whole. This coherence feels like peace, not dullness, but harmony. In that harmony, self-consciousness loosens. You realize that the I you protect is a pattern of thought, a reflection in motion. The quiet center is deeper than identity. It watches the self come and go, like waves on a shore. You can still act, love, plan, and feel, but without being lost in them. Life becomes lighter. The quiet center is not an escape from emotion. It is the space that allows emotion to move through without drowning awareness. When anger or sorrow arises, the mind often contracts around it. Stillness opens instead. The feeling unfolds, reveals its story, then fades. Awareness remains untouched. In this way, stillness heals, not by suppression, but by inclusion. Many traditions have spoken of this center in different words. In Buddhism, it is equanimity, the balanced mind. In Taoism, it is wu-wei, the effortless flow. In Christian mysticism, the inner peace that surpasses understanding. In neuroscience, it is coherence and parasympathetic balance. The language differs, the experience is one. The practice of finding the quiet center begins with returning to the body. Feel the rhythm of breath. Notice the weight of your presence pressing into the earth. Feel gravity's pull anchoring you to now. The mind may wander, but the body does not. The body is always here. It is the doorway to the still point. As awareness deepens, the breath and body begin to feel transparent, like gateways to something vast. There is a sense of expansion without movement, of fullness without boundary. The quiet center reveals itself as not located within you, but as what you truly are, the space in which all experience unfolds. At first, this realization flickers like candlelight. Then it steadies. You notice that awareness has no edge, no center, no shape. It contains thought and sensation, yet it is untouched by them. You begin to sense what mystics mean when they speak of consciousness as infinite. The quiet center is not small, it is everything seen clearly. Daily life continues, but from a new depth. You still feel stress, excitement, and uncertainty, but you no longer mistake them for the whole truth. Beneath every wave, you sense the still sea. When you speak, your words come slower, clearer. When you listen, you truly hear. Awareness itself becomes gentle guidance. The modern world rarely honors this quiet. It values movement, output, and noise. But beneath every achievement, stillness remains the source. Creativity, insight, and compassion all rise from silence. The scientist's breakthrough, the artist's inspiration, the healer's intuition, all begin in pause. The quiet center is not a retreat from life, but the womb of it. In relationships, stillness transforms connection. When you rest in your center, you listen without defense, speak without haste. You feel another's presence as equal to your own. There is space for empathy, forgiveness, understanding. The quiet center becomes not solitude, but communion. The nervous system mirrors this calm through a coherent heart rhythm. The heart and brain communicate continuously through subtle waves. When awareness rests in gratitude or compassion, these rhythms synchronize. Heart rate variability increases, signaling harmony between emotion and attention. The quiet center is not only spiritual, it is measurable. When thought arises again, as it will, meet it gently. The goal is not to banish noise, but to know silence beneath it. The quiet center can hold all sound, even in movement, even in conflict, even in pain. It remains untouched. You do not need to defend it. It is always already there. There will be times when you forget, when the noise of life swells and calm seems lost. But the quiet center never leaves you. Awareness is constant. Like the sky behind clouds, it remains pure, even when unseen. Remembering this truth is the essence of practice. Not to create peace, but to remember it. The journey of attention leads here naturally, from the light of awareness to the evolution of focus, through distraction, mindfulness, emotion, and creativity. All paths converge in stillness. This is the resting point of every mind, the ground from which all consciousness grows. In this stillness, time slows, thought fades, and presence blooms. You realize that peace was never something to gain. It is what you are when nothing is missing. The quiet center is the home of attention itself, the source from which all noticing arises. Rest there for a moment. Feel breath moving easily, body weightless, thought soft. Nothing to do, nothing to fix. Awareness simply aware. The mind luminous, open, kind. This is the quiet center. It is the same stillness that held the first spark of consciousness, the same peace that waits at the heart of every living being. It is not distant, not hidden. It is this very awareness right now, noticing itself. And when you return to the world, to work, to sound, to thought, you do not leave the center behind. You carry it with you, within every action, every word, every glance. The stillness moves through movement, guiding it. From this place, life becomes simple again. To breathe is enough. To see is enough. To be is enough. The quiet center is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of understanding what it means to live awake. Failure. It is part of being human. The mind's nature is movement. The task is not to stop it, but to know it. Awareness is the gathering force that makes even division part of wholeness. In the end, unity does not mean perfection or silence. It means harmony. the ability of many voices to sing one song. The human brain, with all its billions of neurons, does this effortlessly when attention leads the way. You too can live as that harmony. The divided mind can return to stillness again and again, until every fragment becomes part of the same luminous field of awareness. Rest in that thought. The world may pull you in 1,000 directions, but attention remains yours to guide. Gather yourself, breathe, and feel the many within you becoming one. The future of attention. The story of attention began with survival, a flicker in the ancient nervous system, a response to movement in the grass, a whisper of danger or food. Through millennia, that flicker evolved into focus, curiosity, imagination. Now, in the modern age, attention stands at a crossroads. It is no longer just a tool for survival. It is the essence of how humanity shapes its destiny. The future will not be written by technology alone, but by how the human mind learns to use it. Every invention, from the first fire to the latest network, has amplified the power of attention. Fire lit the night. Language bound minds together. Writing carried memory through time. And now, the digital web extends awareness across the planet. Billions of minds connected by light, sharing thought in an instant. But connection without consciousness can drown itself in noise. The challenge of the coming age is not to gain more information, but to regain meaning. Information without attention is static. Data without depth becomes dust. The future belongs to those who can sustain awareness amid abundance, who can turn the flood into clarity, who can look through the noise and still see truth. Neuroscience tells us that the brain is endlessly plastic. The networks of focus and emotion adapt to experience. Each moment of fragmented attention reshapes those circuits. Each moment of mindfulness repairs them. The future of attention, therefore, is the future of the brain itself. Humanity is training its collective mind every day through the patterns it repeats. Now, technology will evolve, but awareness must evolve with it. Artificial intelligence will think faster than any human, process data beyond comprehension, yet without attention, it will not know what it means. Machines can analyze, but they cannot wonder. They can predict, but they cannot feel. The spark of awareness, the gentle act of noticing, remains uniquely human. The task of the future is to remember that. Already, science explores ways to strengthen attention. Neurofeedback, meditation apps, cognitive training, each seeks to enhance focus. Yet the deepest training remains simple and ancient. Stillness, curiosity, compassion. These are not outdated ideas. They are the foundation of consciousness itself. They will become the essential skills of the modern age, not luxuries, but necessities. In schools, children will be taught not only how to think, but how to attend. They will learn that intelligence is not just knowledge, but the ability to stay with a thought long enough to see its depth. In medicine, attention will be recognized as healing energy, the way awareness itself reshapes the nervous system, calming the storms of anxiety and pain. In society, the economy of the future will not measure only resources, but attention, the finite currency of human experience. Every click, every scroll, every glance is a vote for what the world becomes. Collective attention determines collective reality. What a civilization looks at, it becomes. When humanity attends to fear, fear grows. When it attends to beauty, beauty multiplies. This is not metaphor. It is the physics of perception. Attention is creative energy. It shapes matter, emotion, and thought. The future of attention will depend on rhythm. The digital world moves faster each year, yet the human brain still follows its ancient pulse, the slow waves of breath, the heartbeat of focus and rest. To thrive, humanity must rediscover balance. There will be technology to accelerate thought, but there must also be spaces designed for silence. Cities will need sanctuaries of stillness, parks, gardens, quiet rooms where the mind can return to its original frequency. As research advances, science may uncover new ways to map consciousness. We will see the rhythms of attention as patterns of light and sound, the harmonies between neural networks and emotion. But understanding will not replace wonder. The mystery will remain. How matter becomes mind, how awareness lights the world from within. The future of attention will be both scientific and sacred. Artificial systems may mimic focus, but true attention is infused with care. It is not just selection, it is affection. The human ability to attend lovingly, to give presence without demand, is the soul of consciousness. Machines may process, but they will not care. This caring awareness is the bridge between attention and ethics. In the years to come, the question will not be only what we can build, but what we choose to care about. If humanity forgets the art of attention, the cost will be more than distraction. It will be disconnection from each other, from nature, from meaning. But if awareness grows, the opposite can happen. Technology could become an instrument of empathy rather than escape. The same networks that scatter focus could, through conscious use, amplify understanding. The future is not fixed. It bends toward the quality of our awareness. The neuroscience of tomorrow will likely confirm what wisdom has always whispered, that consciousness deepens through stillness, that attention heals by being whole, that awareness itself is the highest form of intelligence. Already, studies show that compassion meditation thickens the brain's empathy networks, that gratitude alters hormonal balance, that silence reorganizes the default mode network into harmony. Science is only beginning to glimpse what sages experienced long ago, that the mind is not only a machine of thought, but a field of light. In the future, attention may also expand beyond the individual. As collective awareness grows through education, culture, and communication, humanity may experience a new form of consciousness, shared, dynamic, connected. Just as neurons link to form a single brain, perhaps minds will synchronize in empathy and purpose. The internet was the first crude mirror of this. The next evolution will not be digital, but spiritual, the rise of global presence. This collective attention will determine how we treat the earth. The planet mirrors our awareness. When humanity sees nature as object, it exploits. When it sees nature as self, it preserves. Attention is relationship. The more clearly we perceive connection, the more wisely we act. The survival of species may depend not only on innovation, but on perception, on seeing the world as alive, conscious, continuous. Education will evolve around this truth. The classrooms of the future may teach silence alongside speech, reflection alongside analysis. Young minds will learn that creativity grows from calm, that the mind's greatest tool is its ability to pause. The curriculum of the future will blend neuroscience and mindfulness, physics and philosophy, art and empathy. It will teach not only what to think, but how to be aware. Medicine, too, will deepen. The doctors of tomorrow will prescribe attention as therapy-focused awareness to heal trauma, mindful breathing to stabilize emotion, compassionate presence to reduce pain. Hospitals may have quiet rooms not just for rest, but for reconnection. Awareness itself will become medicine. Now, and perhaps most profoundly, humanity will redefine success. No longer the endless chase of quantity, but the depth of quality, the ability to be fully alive in each moment. The future of attention is the future of consciousness remembering itself. But even as the mind expands outward into technology and discovery, it will still return to the same truth. The quiet center remains. The stillness beneath progress endures. Awareness has always been here, timeless, waiting for recognition. So imagine a world where attention is sacred again, where people pause before they speak, where children learn to listen as deeply as they learn to calculate, where silence is not absence but nourishment. In that world, technology serves understanding and science serves compassion. The noise becomes music, the many become one. This is not a distant dream. It begins in this moment, in this breath, in the choice to be aware. The future of attention is already forming within you, every time you notice, every time you remember to look, every time you return. In the end, evolution was never only biological. It was always the awakening of awareness. Each generation learns to see a little more clearly, to hold a little more consciously, to love with a little more attention. The future is the continuation of that awakening, the light of awareness expanding through minds, through societies, through the living universe itself. Attention will become not only a function of the brain, but an art of being. The art of seeing without distraction, the art of listening without noise, the art of living fully within presence. And when humanity finally learns this, when technology and awareness walk hand in hand, the story of attention will come full circle from the first flicker of noticing in the ancient brain to the calm gaze of an awakened species, from instinct to insight, from survival to understanding, from looking outward to looking inward. In that moment, perhaps, the universe will know itself completely through the gentle, luminous attention of the human mind. Closing reflections. You have traveled through the story of attention. From the first spark of awareness in the ancient mind, through the rise of focus and imagination, to the quiet calm of presence. You have seen how attention built civilizations, shaped emotion, created art, and now how it will guide the future. Beneath it all, a single current has remained unchanged: awareness itself, patient and luminous, flowing through every life. Attention is more than focus. It is participation in existence. It is the way consciousness meets the world. Every sound you hear, every color you see, every breath you take is an act of connection. To notice is to live. To live fully is to notice deeply. As you rest now, reflect on how awareness moves through you. Every thought is a wave of light within the ocean of mind. Every emotion, a ripple across its surface. Beneath all movement, there is stillness. Beneath every distraction, there is peace waiting to be remembered. The quiet center is always here. You can feel it even now, the gentle weight of the body, the rhythm of breath, the slow unfolding of this moment. Time softens around awareness. The noise of thought recedes into distance. What remains is simple presence, calm and complete. Every lesson in this journey returns here. The light of awareness that opened chapter 1 still shines, only clearer. The brain's spotlight still moves, but now it moves with grace. Distraction no longer feels like an enemy, but like wind passing over the surface of water. The observer within you watches without effort. The rhythm of time and emotion, once scattered, now flows as one quiet pulse. Awareness does not need to be held. It holds you. It has carried you through every moment of life, from your first breath to this one. It will carry you through the rest. You do not have to create it, control it, or understand it. You only have to remember it. Presence is remembrance. The mind forgets and returns, forgets and returns. Each return is awakening. Each breath is renewal. The practice of attention is not to hold stillness forever, but to know it is always near. When you open your eyes tomorrow, The world will appear as it always does. Sounds, shapes, motion, thought. But beneath it, something will feel quieter. You will know that every experience is made luminous by the light of your noticing. You will know that awareness itself is home. The future will continue to unfold, full of movement, change, and challenge. The mind will wander, distraction will return. Yet every time you pause to listen, to breathe, to notice, the thread of attention reconnects you to the whole. Through that thread, you are never lost. Attention is love in motion. It is how the universe looks at itself through you. It is how consciousness touches form, how presence becomes life. Every act of true attention is an act of kindness toward yourself, toward others, toward the world. So as this long journey ends, let yourself rest in that kindness. There is nothing left to achieve, nowhere else to be. Awareness is here, breathing, steady, eternal. Listen to the stillness between your breaths. Feel the quiet hum of life moving through you. That is attention at peace with itself. That is the art of awareness fulfilled. And as you drift toward rest, imagine the soft glow of that awareness expanding from your mind to those you love, to the world around you. The light of attention never ends. It only changes form. Each person who notices, each heart that awakens, adds to that quiet radiance. You are part of it. You always have been. Rest now. The story continues in silence. Awareness remains. The light of attention calm, endless, and free.